In this assignment, we are going to be doing kind of two assignments together. We are going to create a class ShopCart. We are going to set net attributes, customer name, and a list of items. And then we're going to implement the next methods here. So we have add item and delete item. So that's going to be the first part. And the next part is going to implement a method that counts how many instances of our class ShopCart was created and delete instances. So for this, we are going to be using these imports. We are going to create our class ShopCart, and we're going to be doing the first thing. So the first thing is actually to create the class, which we have done. The next is to set the attributes. So we have our customer name and list of items. So for this, I am assuming that we're going to need a setter for our customer name. So that's exactly what I did. We have private string customer name, and then inside of here, we are going to be setting it. Now, I didn't make a setter for this array list right here. I just put it inside of here as we would be adding items into it in here. Though we could possibly do a setter for it. It shouldn't be terribly hard. We could have like a, like how we have here, we can make a public static int, how we have get counter, but instead we would have it for like a set here. In fact, if we right click and click generate, we can even make a setter for this and click OK. So we have public void set items, and then we do array list string items, and then we do this dot items, and we can probably pass in some items, but I'm just going to leave it like this for now. So it's a private string. I think that's okay because it sets this attribute here like this. It's not specifically a setter, but I still think it's okay. Next, we have our implement the next method. So we have our add item and our delete item. So scrolling down a little bit, and this is for our part 4, so we're going to skip it for now. We have our add item. So for the add item, we are going to ask the user with a scanner input what they want to add into the cart, you can just say. And this is going to add it into our array of items that we have right here through the items.add and then add.nextLine, because our scanner is called add. I'm thinking about add item, so we have add.nextLine. We grab that next line and then we add it into our items. Now we are just going to print out our list so we can see it nicely. And then we are going to delete from our array list. So this is the deleting part. Now what we're going to do here, I implemented a while loop. I kind of mentioned this in the previous assignment that'll be in the playlist link below the like button, where we have this boolean run is equal to true, and we're going to run this as long as run is equal to true. Now if we get an answer, so if we get an element by the user through this scanner right here, because we have the scanner, we're first going to print out the array list, and then we're going to ask the user what they want to remove. We're going to take that in here, and then we're going to see if our array contains it. If our array contains it, we'll remove this item, run as false, and we'll break out of our while loop, and then we're just going to print the list one more time. Otherwise, we're going to say it's an invalid removal, and we're going to run our while loop again until we get this correct if statement. And that's going to be it for our delete item. I do have a main method here, and this main method I am going to be testing after the fourth part of this because it demos that as well. So now for part 4. In part 4, we need to implement a method that counts how many instances of class ShopCart was created and delete instances. So that means we are going to implement this here. We have a private static int count, and it's static so that whenever we make a instance of our ShopCart, it belongs to the static, not the class itself, or it belongs, sorry, I got that a little mixed up. It belongs with it, if it's static, it belongs to the class itself and not the instance that we make in our main method. So this will always be constant throughout all of our instances that we are to make. Like if we are to have our cart, and then we have like cart 1 and then cart 2 and so on and so forth. So that's just important to note right there. Next, in our back here, we're going to have our private static int count, and then we were going to have this get count. So if we ever wanted to use a getter to see our counter, we could do that, although I don't really use this, so this code is not necessarily necessary. We can scroll down, and then we have a constructor to set this. So this is a constructor every time. So what a constructor is when we call, or when we make an instance of this, the constructor is going to run automatically. So once we call cart, this is going to run no matter what. That means that every time we create an instance, we are going to count this, because inside of here we have count plus plus, and then we just sys out instances and then we put the count out. Now if we wanted to, instead of just printing out count right here, we could use the getter that we made right here where we get the count. And that's going to be it for that part. Next we have where we want to delete instances, and this is pretty cool. I learned that you can delete instances. I was not 100% familiar with that. Through a quick search, all you have to do is set it to null. So in deleting an instance, I'm setting our cart2 equal to the return of this. And the return, I have to cast this as a ShopCart. I have to cast it as the type ShopCart, and how you cast something is you have parentheses and you have the type you want to cast it in here. That basically forces it to be that, which is okay because that's what we want here. We have our cart2.delete, and this is a method that I made inside of our cart2. Cart2.delete, where we pass in an object, which is our cart2, the cart that we want to delete. If we wanted to, we could even like pass in cart1 or something like that. And that is going to delete it. Or, well, it's going to delete whatever is assigned to here. Because in our method, we have a return of null. So what we do is we are going to decrement our count first off, and then we have a print line where we're going to print out our instances plus our count. And once we do this, we are just going to show that we've decremented our count. We're going to do the system.gc, which runs our Java garbage collector, and then we have our run finalization. I don't know if these are exactly necessary, but they're just one line of code each, so I'm going to keep them in here. I'm a little short on time. And then we're going to return our null. So returning our null is going to give us a null value in here. So cart2 is equal to null, and we can run this to try to test it out. So I'm going to run our main method. We have instances 1. So this is the first creation of our instance right here. Enter item to add. I'm just going to say A and then enter item to add. This is B. We're right here at our code. We've added 2 items, and now we're going to delete both items. So I'm going to do A. Now we have B in here, and that's all that's left. Now what if I put something in that's wrong? Well, C, we can see that we still have our list, and it asks us to do it again. What about D? It's not in there. We have to remove our B. And then it says we have 2 instances. That's when we create this next instance, cart1. And then we create this cart2. That's going to give us 3 instances. And then we delete an instance, which means our instance is 2. So that's how we would look at our ShopCart assignment, and that's how we would go about testing it. That's how I would look at this code.